You're listening to Afternoons on FNR, Football Nation Radio with Adriano de Monte and Rick D'Andrea.
Hello there and welcome to Friday's edition of Afternoons here on FNR Football Nation Radio. Warm welcome if you are with us on Facebook Live and to those of you who are tuning in via our app and our website footballnationradio.com. It's been a big week of action across Europe's top club competitions, but now we are into the full swing of Euro 2020 qualifiers. Incredible, the World Cup was yesterday and today we're into qualifying for the next major international tournament for the European nations. We've got some results from overnight, plenty of action to preview over the course of the weekend, some international friendlies as well, so a whole lot more to come on that front. Some massive news at club level, particularly at the UEFA Champions League. Cristiano Ronaldo has learned his fate with regards to that gesture in the round of 16 against Atletico Madrid. I'll let you deliver the outcome very shortly, Rick.
I will, thank you.
And of course, we will cast our eyes over all the latest transfer news. We know every day this week there have been a number of breaking news stories on the transfer front. Some fresh stories today as well. An update on the future of Antoine Griezmann at Atletico Madrid. More news about the uncertain future of Paulo Dybala, of course, at Juventus. And Dani Alves, the reason behind his contract extension, or soon-to-be contract extension at Paris Saint-Germain, has reportedly been revealed. Find out what that is and more over the next couple of hours, of course, here on Afternoons on FNR Football Nation Radio. Get in touch at any time, Facebook Live or via Twitter at FNR_radio. As always,
don't forget, give us a call.
As always, you can call us. You steal those words in my mouth all the time, Rick. As always, you can. First hour, second hour, whatever you like. 99 44 99 99. And you are with myself, Adriano Del Monte and Rick D'Andrea for the next 2 hours. Give us a call. We'd love to chat. Rick, the news headlines, including that Ronaldo verdict, I hope, and plenty more. A big show in store.
Yes, good afternoon, and good afternoon to all our listeners once again. And we'll start with the UEFA 2020 European qualifiers. That were the big results and the big news of the last 24 hours. And the Netherlands have gotten off to the perfect start, defeating Belarus 4-0. Memphis Depay was the star of the show with 2 goals and an assist, ably supported by Gini Wijnaldum and Virgil van Dijk. Belgium also got the 3 points against Russia in their opening Group I fixture with a 3-1 win. Yuri Tillemans and an Eden Hazard double ensured the Red Devils claimed the result. However, they are not top of Group I, and you'll find out very soon as to who is and why. Croatia had to do it the hard way to beat Azerbaijan in their opening clash, with Ramil Shaidaev opening the scoring before Barisic, and Andrej Kramaric ensured the Vetreni kept their perfect home record intact, getting a 2-1 win there. In the other big match, of course, substitute Krzysztof Piątek ensured Poland defeated Austria 1-0 and claimed the only away win of this morning's action. In other results, Borat would be very, very pleased as Kazakhstan defeated Scotland 3-0. Cyprus, they are the ones who lead Group I with a 5-0 win over San Marino. North Macedonia claimed a 3-1 win over a 10-man Latvia. Slovakia beat Hungary 2-0, while Israel and Slovenia played out a 1-1 draw, the only stalemate this morning. Sami Khedira, in great news here, has been given the all-clear to resume training with Juventus at a high intensity. The German international was diagnosed with an irregular heartbeat requiring specialist treatment in mid-February, and now he is able to join the Bianconeri for the final part of the season. Speaking of Bianconeri, his teammate Cristiano Ronaldo has been fined €20,000 for his explicit cojones gesture against Atletico Madrid in their round of 16 Champions League second leg clash. The Portuguese star risked being banned for 1 match, but was handed the same punishment as Athletic boss Diego Simeone, who made the same gesture in the first leg. Leicester City players not on international duties, coach Brendan Rodgers and members of his backroom staff have travelled to Thailand to pay their respects to former owner Vishay Shivdanaprava at his cremation ceremony. Vishy died in a helicopter accident, if you don't remember, exiting King Power Stadium in October. His body has been resting in a temple for 100 days in accordance with Buddhist tradition and was cremated on Thursday in a ceremony attended by the Thai king. And finally, the mother of former Cardiff striker Emiliano Sala has put pressure on the Welsh club to cede to FC Nantes' request and demand. FIFA have now also stepped in to oversee the saga, as the EPL side are still unwilling to honour their part of the agreement due to a preliminary report not satisfying all the requirements. Adrian, back to you.
Sad way to end the news there, but yeah, interesting developments with that ongoing saga, unfortunately, between Cardiff and Nantes. We brought you news the other day that FIFA was set to intervene as well. So, yeah, some difficult that the mother has now had to intervene. Obviously,
she's basically, in her words, she has said, well, you can't kind of wipe away a signature. No. And you can't.
Well, she said that, so they must honour the word. The signature cannot be wiped away. It's, obviously not something that she'd want to be vocal about or worry about. She's got more on her plate at the moment. But, yeah, that situation's still nowhere near its end at this stage, unfortunately, for the clubs involved. And I suppose sad, but also nice that some of those Leicester City players who aren't on international duty were able to get over to Thailand and pay their respects on behalf of the club as well. So, sad way to end the news headlines there on a night in Europe and a morning in Australia here, where there was plenty of action on the pitch and some near surprise results, some really nice performances by some nations, and obviously some developments at club level as well. So plenty to get through in the program, a number of key transfer stories that I touched on off the top, which we'll get to very, very shortly. But well, let's start with the biggest news story, and then let's get into the Euro qualifying results, and then we can talk some more European football to close out the first hour. We'll look ahead to what's to come over the weekend. But that big news story overnight in the Champions League, Cristiano Ronaldo fined €20,000, the identical fine that was handed out to Diego Simeone for an identical gesture. However, there were some fears in the Juventus camp that Ronaldo would actually cop a 1 or maybe 2 match suspension by UEFA, because the difference here with the Simeone one was that the gesture was actually targeted and directed directly towards the Athletic fans. Therefore, well, reportedly it was a little more significant than the Diego Simeone incident. If that had prevailed, though, Juve would certainly have appealed. Not to be the case, he's slapped with a ban. Your thoughts in the wash-up now, given the fact that he has avoided any suspension?
It's the same thing as I said after the Simeone incident. The precedent was there. You could only give it one thing and one thing only. It's the exact same thing, the exact same tie as well. So there were a lot of things. Yeah, you can argue that the Ronaldo gesture was towards the Atletico Madrid fans at the time, but Simeone's as well was in the heat of the moment, going up in taking that lead and all the pressure that had been given towards him at that stage. So for me, like for like, perfect result. Yep. Yes, we could argue why the one-match ban may have been given, but it would have been too excessive by UEFA standards to go that far.
Juventus certainly would have appealed, as I said. I think it would have been absolutely ridiculous if he would have been suspended, because it was an identical set of circumstances. But what a blow that would have been for Juventus to have to go through that, because no guarantee they would have been successful.
Correct.
And with news just breaking overnight as well that Douglas Costa is now in serious doubt for the first leg, and with other attacking issues as well, form and other, injuries that have led to exclusions from the squad, the Juventus attack would have been very thin without Cristiano Ronaldo in the lineup. They're a player who has been so successful in his previous meetings with Ajax. So it's a massive sigh of relief for the Bianconeri. I think common sense ultimately has prevailed there. And I did some maths, Rick. 2 hours of work for Ronaldo, and he'll pay that fine off. So,
not a bad little work.
A slap on the wrist, but Ronaldo, I think he should be fine for those actions there in the match. But again, common sense does prevail. Ronaldo gets off with just a fine and no ban. So big news there breaking out of Juventus, and the other news out of Juventus you mentioned in the news headlines about Sami Khedira, very pleasing as well. Another not so great story that you've included there in the headlines, but we are here to bring you the news breaking out of Europe. And good to see that Sami Khedira, who did have that irregular heartbeat condition, 5 weeks ago?
More or less just before the first leg, maybe even a week before that period.
4 to 6 weeks ago, they're saying he's
now fine to return to full training and get himself back into hopefully first team football. Yeah. We've talked about this season in particular, the Juventus midfield and the lack of depth and how thin they are. Well, you've now gotten somebody back into that role who can help out the likes of Emre Can, Blaise Matuidi, and anybody else that Juventus want to roll through. You know, Rodrigo Bentancur, Milan Pjanic. It doesn't matter who those names are. Adding Khedira, as much as he is a teacher's pet to Massimiliano Allegri, and as soon as he is able to be given the all clear to return to full match playing, you'd see him back in the team, wouldn't you?
Yeah, look, you can. It's another option, but I think most importantly, before even worrying about playing on the pitch, his health is
first, of course.
If he's right to get back to be within contention of rejoining the squad. So, pleasing news there, and yes, does add some depth to that midfield, which is very thin. Only 4 fit players in the Juventus midfield. He makes 5, and that's their entire squad of midfielders. So, timely return for Sami Khedira on the eve, obviously, of, the end, the final third of the campaign, and obviously the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. So plenty more to come on the European front. A lot of transfer talk to come as well. But let's go now to the Euro 2020 qualifiers. They got underway this morning, the first day, I suppose, of Euro 2020 qualification. Exciting times, and there were some big nations in action. And I'm going to start with one of the nations, Rick, who I said yesterday would stamp their authority.
And they did.
And, not that you said they wouldn't, but you did say that.
I tried to pose the case for the other side.
And respectfully, I said that was ridiculous. Netherlands 4, Belarus 0. A complete display by this Dutch outfit, and not that we expected anything less, but this Dutch outfit are the real deal. Some very impressive performances on the night. Again, with all due respect, only against Belarus. But the Netherlands, who of course through to the UEFA Nations League semi-finals and finals, the Final Four there as a group winner in League A, well, their good form has continued. They're in this group, of course, with the Germans, who they'll meet at a later date. But what a way to start, a 4-0 win, and they are the real deal, as I predicted yesterday.
Well, it started off like a house on fire after only 50 seconds when Memphis Depay found the back of the net.
Very fortunate.
Very fortunate, and I think that sort of upset Belarus's rhythm. I actually watched this one pretty closely this morning on Optus Sport, and I sensed that as soon as that went in, Ronald Koeman's men, not only did they try and sit back a little bit or absorb a little bit more of the pressure that Belarus were coming at them, but then they'd counter-attack very, very quickly. And you could see that when they went to 2-0 up, thanks to the Ryan Babel cross, which, of course, if I flicked on him, Gini Wijnaldum smacked into the back of the net, you could see then, okay, they wanted to ramp up. They were still hungry. They still wanted a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth goal.
Yep.
Belarus just couldn't quite absorb all that pressure. And they tried and tried and tried. They tried to counter. They tried to press forward, but it just wasn't able enough to get past that defence of the Orange.
Again, another very impressive display by a very talented national team. It's extraordinary when you look at this team now. Well, you fast forward 7-8 months from the end of the World Cup. It's extraordinary to think that this team here missed the World Cup, but obviously this is the new generation now of Dutch football, and the fact that De Jong was very solid yet again, the fact that Depay scored a double here, the fact that De Ligt and Van Dijk are clearly forming as arguably already the best defensive partnership in world football, which is extraordinary. How did they miss the FIFA World Cup? It's unbelievable.
That I've got no idea. I still scratch my head. Like you said, 8 months on from the World Cup, I really do struggle to work it out. You've just run through some of that lineup, and you go, that talent should supersede anything that they were able to do a year ago. They should have been, you're probably saying, around a 16, if not a quarter final, based on what they have on paper.
Of course, they were eliminated in their World Cup qualifying group. They were drawn in arguably the group of death in Europe with France and Sweden. And so that was always going to be difficult. And we know how impressive Sweden were. That was no fluke that they overcame the Dutch national team. But the Dutch have clearly come on in leaps and bounds in the last 12 months. And you feel now they will not only be a contender at Euro 2020, they will be a serious favourite to go on and potentially win that thing. And it's been a very quick turnaround for them. And it goes to show that, obviously, a bit of fortune in multiple players coming through at the right time, but with some strong youth development, your future can turn around very, very quickly. So and this is why I was very confident that this young team would come out and really put their foot down from the get-go. And with that match against Germany to come in, I think, 72 hours' time, this team will potentially be 6 points from 6, top of the table after 2 rounds, and could all but assure themselves of a place early on.
And they won't have any fear playing Mannschaft. Considering they took care of them, of course, in that final match in order to get through to the semi-finals of the UEFA Nations League. They won't be scared of them at all.
Well, they obviously had that 2-2 away from home with that late goal to put them through, but 2 late goals to put them through. Remember, they came back from 2-0 down. But remember the reverse.
3-0.
They destroyed Germany on home soil, and this will be on home soil again. I'm expecting a very impressive Dutch display in that match, and I'll be tipping them to win. We'll preview that match a little later on in the program, because that'll headline one of many key fixtures between big nations this weekend across the Euro 2020 qualifiers. But Netherlands 4, Belarus 0. Of course, they go top of their group, along with Northern Ireland, who had a 2-0 win over Estonia. You have to feel for Northern Ireland a little bit here. Of course, Northern Ireland eliminated in the playoff round for the FIFA World Cup out of Europe. They're a solid nation who have continually been growing in recent years. You just feel they're obviously in a little difficult position here to take care of both Netherlands and Germany in this group.
But they're just on the cusp of everything,
They're on the cusp of everything. You're exactly right. And obviously an underwhelming UEFA Nations League campaign means that Northern Ireland they were relegated from that group with Bosnia and Austria, 0 points. Northern Ireland are going to be one of those unfortunate teams that, although they're a League B team in the Nations League, Rick, they are clearly the third best nation in this group for Euro 2020 qualifying. They're going to be one of those nations who are better than some qualifiers at Euro 2020, but due to the fact that they were in League B in the Nations League, they're going to just miss out completely.
They just got that unfortunate draw in the end, haven't they?
They're stuck in no man's land in the middle, where they're not good enough to qualify out of the Nations League. They're not good enough to qualify out of their Euro 2020 group. But because their ranking was a little too strong in the Nations League and in qualification, they're going to miss out completely. So it's a shame for Northern Ireland, but I think they'll have to, despite the result this morning, I think unless they're getting some results against Germany and the Netherlands, they'll be missing out in the Euro 2020 finals.
You can only hope for their sake they win all their other games and they somehow can pluck a couple, maybe 2 points between those 4 matches against the Netherlands and Germany.
In an ideal world, they're going to need probably the Netherlands to dominate the group and then get a result against Germany is the likely outcome there. But I don't see it at this point. I think Germany will come on. We saw some positive improvements from them, obviously, against Serbia in the friendly yesterday. How will that translate into a match against the Dutch? We'll cut over that match a little later on in the program. But again, recapping those results: Netherlands 4, Belarus 0, Northern Ireland 2, Estonia 0. There was one win on the road overnight that you mentioned, Poland. Now, this match, Poland away to Austria, we said would be enormous in determining the group winner. And yes, this early on, it would be a key factor. Poland, of course, very poor in the UEFA Nations League, being relegated from their group with Portugal and Italy. But they pick up a crucial win here against the very talented Austrian outfit. And on the road, 1-0. And that man again, Piontek, scoring 10 minutes after coming off the bench. Scores for his national team again. He's been in good goal-scoring form since joining AC Milan. Started the season like a house on fire at Genoa. He's clearly one of the form strikers in world football. And, well, a timely goal for Poland. They pick up an invaluable win on the road here at Austria, 1-0.
Just what's needed for the red and white. I know that both nations are red and white, but of course I'm talking here about Poland. You want to try and set yourself up very early on to not only, like you said, win this group, but put yourselves into pole position going into the 2020 championships. You want to forget about what happened, of course, at the World Cup. You want to forget about what has happened during the UEFA Nations League. Setting yourself up in this position with Piontek scoring, it's a great little thing as well for Brzezowski right now.
Yeah, really good result for Poland. They look good, and they'll be, obviously, they are, in terms of their ranking, and they've always been up there, but they look good, and obviously, given the I suppose.
And Austria did have their chances, might I point out. Daniel Alves had a couple of chances to score as well. I think Hinterberger also had one.
But this result on the road to the next best team in the group.
It just means so much.
Well, it means a lot because this is... Again, Poland are very fortunate with their draws. This is another fairly weak group. It's six-nation group: Macedonia, Slovenia, Israel, Austria, Latvia, and Poland. So this win for me, Poland are going to the Euros directly through this, despite relegation in the UEFA Nations League. And they currently are second behind Macedonia, who had a very nice 3-1 win against Latvia. No surprise there. But Macedonia with, a coming-of-age display by a couple of youngsters coming through. Elif Elmas, did you see the third goal in this match?
I haven't. No, I haven't seen any highlights of this game, unfortunately.
Rick, a double by the 19-year-old who plays in Turkey for Fenerbahce. This was, check out the third goal whenever you get an opportunity, outside of the boot.
Finding it right now.
Chipped effort, late on. Latvia were down to 10, but top corner, sensational by the 19-year-old who, as I said, has worked himself into the Fenerbahce squad this season. So it was a very nice display by Macedonia. And Macedonia have been a nation that have caused a few shocks over the years. And maybe Macedonia could be one that could potentially, if Austria are to drop these games, well, maybe the door would be open there to a Macedonia or a Slovenia, but Slovenia unfortunately held to a 1-1 away to Israel. So that's not going to help either of those two nations, but the points are shared there. So Macedonia and, of course, Poland lead the way in this group.
Just checked out that goal. Got a little bit lucky.
Rick, I think you're looking at the first goal there. You've got to check out the chipped effort going the right of screen in the top corner. You do your research. I'll keep the results coming because there were plenty of other key matches overnight as well. Probably the highest profile fixture overnight from a Euro 2020 perspective was Belgium up against Russia. 3-1 it finished in favour of Belgium. Russia down to 10 to close the match. Golovin sent off. He'll miss the next match. But they were made to work for it, Belgium.
They were.
Tillemans putting them ahead, and then Cheryshev equalising a couple of minutes later, 1-1 early on. Eden Hazard penalty on the stroke of half-time. Some saying a bit controversial. But
little controversial. He tried to evade the defender at the time. He almost did a Lionel Messi in the respect of the Lyon match where he took his defender one way, went the other, and then went down in the box. So similar to sort of that. But there were two talking points that really I think we need to have a chat about today. One's about Russia, and one's about the Belgium goalkeeper, Thibaut Courtois. We'll start with the Russia. This isn't the same Russia outfit that we saw Sergei Cheryshev put out at the FIFA World Cup.
We know that.
We need to forget that completely because the Belgian outfit in transition absolutely tore apart the 5-4-1 that the Russians attempted to play here. They were not compact, they were spread out, and that was clearly evident in the first goal by Yuri Tillemans, where you could just see the play was from a forced error, middle of the pitch, worked around by the Belgian outfit. Tillemans gets into the top of the box and finishes it off past the goalkeeper. That's the first thing. But lastly, we have never thought of Thibaut Courtois as a sweeper keeper. If you have a look at the Denis Cheryshev goal to make it 1-1, why was Thibaut Courtois thinking that all of a sudden he could channel his inner Fabien Barthez, play the ball around, and maybe even pass it off to a defender nearby? You could see he got frazzled. He wasn't able to clear it away on his left boot. He attempted to put it onto his right, and then what did he do? He lost the ball. We have to wonder now, with the whole Zidane re-entry in at Real Madrid, we know that he's seemingly lost his place to Keylor Navas. You've got a howler here. What do you do with him? What do you start to think about? Or is this the first sign of something a little bit more about Thibaut Courtois?
I think he has to find a new home club-wise because I don't think that under Zidane he will be the number one next season, and that's not what he'll want.
But do you think that then carried through to this performance or into this incident?
No doubt. Mentally, look, he hasn't played as much football. He's played football this season, but he hasn't. He clearly is in a position now where he is uncertain of his club future, and that will throw a spanner in the works, and that will not allow him to play at the highest level that he's capable of doing. So questions do need to be asked about Thibaut Courtois, no doubt about that. What does the future hold for him? Well, there are rumours aplenty we'll get to later on. But yes, I think in signs like that, whereby that's not his natural game, yes, there's certainly other issues off the pitch that he's battling. But look, in the end, Belgium win 3-1. Hazard rounds out the win with a double late on. 3-1, they pick up the points there against Russia. Look, we did predict that Belgium would win, but you're right in saying this isn't the same Russian outfit that were at the World Cup.
No.
And personnel-wise, again, to match the level that they had at the World Cup, not so straightforward as well. And obviously going away to Belgium, one of the world's best nations, was always going to be tough.
But it's good to see Denis Cheryshev at least keep up that form.
Of course.
Getting another goal, of course, the Villarreal man. He knows how to find the back of the net, and he was able to capitalise on that.
Of course. Other results in the group. No surprise as Cyprus had a 5-0 over San Marino, so Cyprus top the group. Well done to them. And Rick, and the other game, Kazakhstan 3, Scotland 0. Extraordinary.
I'm just smiling because I just went back and watched Borat about 5 weeks ago. One of the great movies of all time. Let me just put it out there. If you don't know, there's an iconic scene in there, of course, where Ali G, Sacha Baron Cohen, whatever you want to call him, decides to sing the Kazakhstan national anthem, mimics it in his own words, and, well, as soon as Scotland did lose 3-0 to Kazakhstan, that was the first thing that popped into my mind.
Okay.
No, I'm not singing it today.
You weren't going to give us a rendition of it.
No. Not today. Maybe in the second hour.
The fans are disappointed, but nevertheless, Kazakhstan with an enormous win over Scotland, 3-0. Big result. No Robertson for Scotland, which was a blow, but look, in the end, a 3-0 resounding victory there for Scotland. I think any hope they had of going through this group. It's strange to write teams off so early on, but a 3-0 loss at Kazakhstan is not setting you up for anything in this group. And with Belgium and Russia in there, you would anticipate that from this point, well, clearly Belgium, but Russia would be in the box.
Well, considering that Chris Sutton as well, the Scotland coach, was saying that this was going to be a lay-down misère, it was going to be a walkover, they were going to get the results, this is a complete shock. You're right, this is going to throw the group a little bit out, and that's what Sean's come through and said. He's glad that Scotland got belted because Chris Sutton is exactly that. He's a bit of a knobhead. It's probably the nicest way to put it, but yes, unfortunately, he's right. And then but then when you also think about who have Kazakhstan beaten by multiple goals to 0 over the years.
Rick, you tell me, you're the resident Kazakhstan fan.
I am, absolutely. Thank you, Borat. I'll go through it. These are not powerhouse teams. Laos, Thailand, Andorra, San Marino, and now Scotland. It's got a ring to it, doesn't it?
It does. Check out that goal, as I was talking about a little earlier on, as Shah also...
Oh, there it is. Very nice.
Stunning goal. As
Very nice.
Shah also came through and said, how good's Piontek? Well,
yes.
Again, just so good. So good. There haven't been stories like his that I can recall coming with that level of rise, and they're so rapid that I can recall...
Not off the top of my head, no.
This decade, not at all.
No.
It's unless they were already... a Neymar, for example, in the last... whenever he bursts onto the scene. But point being, a player who has come out of absolutely nowhere
obscurity,
like this. Jamie Vardy, I guess you could put in that bracket as well, but... No, you could put Jamie Vardy in that bracket, absolutely. But Piontek, this has been extraordinary. He's only getting better.
But what's even more interesting is, yes, Piontek is on the way up, but what about his Polish teammate up front, the captain?
Well, yeah.
Because he's seemingly, as Piontek has gone up, Robert Lewandowski has dropped off. Now, whether it's got to do with age, whether it's got to do with being the 7-time Polish Player of the Year, and the pressure that has come with that, and being the captain as well.
Issues at Bayern Munich at
Issues
times.
at Bayern Munich. So maybe it's a couple of things that have maybe gone against Lewandowski. But it's been interesting that he hasn't been able to also capitalise on this and stay at a similar level as Krzysztof Piontek.
A bit of pressure on Lewandowski for the first time in his career at both club and national team level as well.
Yeah.
He's got a number 2 now where he's never had any pressure to own it up top, and all of a sudden if Piontek starts scoring for Poland, well, questions will be asked about the future of Lewandowski. And I think for me, that's why I'm really confident that Lewandowski not will, but could move on in the summer. I think he needs a fresh start somewhere just to revitalise his career. And Bayern Munich, of course, will be making some tough decisions in the summer, irrespective of whether or not they win the Bundesliga, which looks very likely now, quite extraordinary. But they've had an amazing turnaround there. But just some of the other results from the morning. I suppose we were on the cards for one of the great shocks in the history of Euro qualifiers, as Azerbaijan took the lead at the World Cup finalists Croatia in Zagreb. Keep in mind, Rick, Croatia had never... ever in their history since 1994 lost a home Euro qualifier. Never lost. And Azerbaijan, out of all nations, led 1-0. They had two glorious opportunities in the first 20 minutes.
Could have scored in the 12th, and they ultimately did find the back of the net in the 19th.
Took his second opportunity in the 19th, but then a late goal. The pressure was coming. The goal was coming. But I felt, as watching this game, I felt that as the match approached half-time, if Croatia didn't get their goal,
they were in trouble.
They were in serious trouble. Yeah. Because if all of that momentum didn't eventuate and lead to a goal, I felt that Azerbaijan were in the box seat to not hold on for a result, but really hold on for all 3 points. I think the 15-minute half-time interval would really have frustrated Croatia had they not got that goal. But Barisic, with his first ever international goal, pulled Croatia level 1 minute shy of half-time. Of course, the Rangers men there getting a goal that... A fine performance, a different look Croatia's side, a couple of fresh faces in the lineup, but got his goal, and then the brilliance of Kramaric late on, 11 minutes from time, another stunning finish. 2-1 is how it finished. So Croatia get out of jail, but only just, because Azerbaijan were very close to holding on. They were resolute, they were gallant, but unfortunately they go down 2-1.
I'm also surprised, speaking of Andrej Kramaric, why we haven't spoken about him as being a potential transfer target. He's the most informed player at the moment for this national team. Sure, there are a few new faces. Sure, it's a little bit of a different period. But he keeps on banging in goals for Hoffenheim. He scored, I think 3 in the Champions League group stages before ultimately the German team got eliminated. He seems to score every second or third week for them in the Bundesliga. Why isn't anybody talking about him as a potential right winger that could join a club, or even as a potential second striker?
Not sure, but 8 goals in his last 9 games for club and country. He's playing some really good football, and particularly in 2019, he's off to a flyer.
He is.
I agree. I think he should be on the radar of some of the very top clubs, particularly as Hoffenheim will very likely miss out on Champions League football next season.
He'd be one of those players you could pluck away with the lure of playing more European and especially Champions League football.
No doubt. But on the night here, Croatia, well, he was their saviour, but they were all there. Modric, Rakitic, Kovacic, the informed Petkovic, Perisic, Kramaric, of course. Rebic was brought off the bench. So, again, they're they are full strength. That's their full strength lineup, and maybe defensively a couple of different faces in the lineup. But yeah, an underwhelming display by Croatia, who will look. I don't think they'll have any issues in this group. Very straightforward group, with all due respect to the other participants in the group. But they certainly prove that no game is no easy game.
There's no walkovers.
Not at all. So Croatia 2, Azerbaijan 1. The other game in the group finished 2-0, Slovakia taking care of Hungary. That is a huge result for Slovakia, because you do have, well, who knows about Wales, but I really fancy Slovakia or Hungary to beat Wales to second place there. Wales not featuring in this round. So Slovakia and Croatia 3 points, Azerbaijan and Hungary 0 points. Wales yet to play. They will have their first match at home in a few days' time against Slovakia, whereas Croatia will be on the road to Hungary, and Azerbaijan will be in friendly action. So they are the results from this morning. Some massive results there, but plenty of action to come over the course of the weekend. Of course, a couple of really, really big games. Netherlands, Germany, the biggest of the lot. We'll get to see Italy in action, Spain in action, England in action tomorrow morning as well against the Czech Republic. The French are away to Moldova. Portugal and Ukraine do battle, Switzerland, and plenty more. We'll preview that probably in the second hour. So do join us just after 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We'll be in the studio taking your calls and casting our eye over all of that action. There's also African Cup of Nations. It's the final round of qualifiers for that. Some nations already qualified for the competition, but plenty of spots still up for grabs. So we'll take a look at what happened there as well. A couple of other matches overnight on the friendly front. Wales had a 1-0 win over Trinidad and Tobago. That was actually the day before last.
That was.
UAE 2, Saudi Arabia 1. Kosovo and Denmark, a match we touched on yesterday, finished 2-2. So Kosovo proving that they are, again, they could be the fairy tale story, obviously immense in the UEFA Nations League. And all of a sudden...
They led twice in this match. And Denmark had to chase back, and the 91st minute penalty to get through,
So, look, Kosovo against a Christian Eriksen-led Denmark. He came off the bench and scored a few minutes after coming on. But very good result here for Kosovo, and looking forward to seeing their progress in the coming months across, obviously, the European qualifier. So a nice result there for them. There is one match being played at present. As so often is the case when we're live, Rick, a live match between USA and Ecuador is currently 0-0. We're not seeing any goals in this one.
No, we're not presuming too many. Maybe one at the absolute most to separate the two teams.
Pulisic is in action for the United States, and Antonio Valencia has made
There's a name we haven't heard in a little while.
94th cap for Ecuador. Venezuela. Valencia for Ecuador, of course. So 0-0, 66th minute. That match should finish towards the end of this first hour. We'll keep you updated with the live scores there. There are some friendly matches to come over the weekend as well. Lionel Messi will return for Argentina against Venezuela. That's where I was getting my Venezuela from. That's tomorrow morning. Brazil in action, Chile and Mexico, and plenty more. And one other match overnight in the China Cup. China 0, Thailand 1. Just a friendly match. But the point of this, Rick, is that this was the first match in charge for Fabio Cannavaro. 0-1 defeat. Cannavaro, of course, replacing Marcelo Lippi as the boss of China. He's still also Guangzhou Evergrande's boss, I believe. So he's doing the double, the club and country. A 0-1 defeat. And on home soil, not a good start for the 2006 Italian World Cup winning captain.
No, and considering what happened during, of course, the Asian Cup, where the team was able to get out of the knockout group stage, not the greatest start whatsoever, so unfortunately.
This China Cup between China, it's a
4-team tournament.
4-team tournament, China, Thailand, Uzbekistan and Uruguay. Uzbekistan and Uruguay will meet shortly. But yeah, it was 0-1 defeat there. China will now play off a third in that against either Uzbekistan or Uruguay. But that is your international recap. Full previews to come in the second hour, as we said. So a lot to get through. Stay tuned for that. But Rick, let's revert our attention back now to European football and then some transfer talk, because there are plenty of stories that have emerged overnight and going forward. We brought you the news earlier that Ronaldo has avoided that suspension for his gesture in the UEFA Champions League against Atleti in the round of 16. €20,000 fine, 2 hours of work, and he's back to square one. So well done to him. So great news there for Juventus. One of their fierce rivals, Inter, they have been dealing with one of the biggest sagas of the season. We brought you the news yesterday that it was rumoured that Mauro Icardi was back in the Inter setup, that an agreement had been reached between he and the club. It's now confirmed Mauro Icardi is back in training with the Nerazzurri. 6 weeks he's been away. He's been absent for that time. Injured, they've been saying, but he's back.
What an excuse that is.
I still believe, though, that the agreement is he will leave at season's end, but get us back to the Champions League, maximise your value, and let's get you to the club that you choose. But let's work together for this next few months and have a strong end to the season.
I'll scratch your back if you scratch my back. It's got that feeling about it, doesn't it?
I really think that is the only motivation behind this, because Icardi, he's filthy with the fact that they took the captaincy off him.
As anybody would be.
Well, reports saying that he's gone to great lengths to vocalise how disappointed he is with an action that he's labelled very petty from the owners and decision makers there at Inter. So he's completely fallen out, but clearly he's the best player that club have at the moment, and if he can step up, score, keep them quiet and then move on, I think it will be a good result for all involved.
Yep, agreed 100%.
Where does he go is going to be the question. Real linked, but where else could he go? If not for Real, who are linked to half of Europe.
Yeah. See, I still think that a Barcelona return is still on the cards.
Yep.
I mean, the whole youth team set up, coming through those ranks. Barcelona now seemingly are after a centre forward, and they're pretty vocal about it. Luka Jovic is the one that's constantly been linked. But a lot of those players that do come through the Barcelona setup eventually make their way back to the first team. And that's where I still believe Icardi will end up. I know he's got the fractured relationship with Lionel Messi, and that will be a telling factor.
At national team level.
At national team level, this is.
Yep.
But I think at club team level, if you've come through the system, they do keep an eye on you very, very closely from La Masia stage. And I think ultimately he will end up going there. If I had to pick a team for where his destination could be.
Okay. I think
yours?
Yeah, look, I think that makes sense given the future of Luis Suarez and the current situation there. But I think Barcelona are investing money maybe elsewhere at this point. There have been a couple of cheaper alternatives linked to that role. I think Real is the option. And I do think that Real Madrid will be on the lookout for a number 9. I think Icardi, I just think the image suits Real Madrid a little better at this point.
The rockstar, Galactico type move.
I think so, and I think if Icardi can play under Zidane, play at the highest level, I can just envisage Icardi in a Real shirt next season, and I think it'd be a suitable fit. But that would mean certainly that Benzema would have to leave the club. And you know what? I can actually see Karim Benzema going to Milan. AC, that is.
Explain.
Look, I think that Karim Benzema, who's been linked to AC Milan and Arsenal, I think the two biggest clubs he's been linked to consistently over the journey, I think that he could find a position. Look, he could also go to Inter if Icardi were to leave, but
of course.
I think that Benzema could find a home in Italy. I think do
Milan need another striker?
Well, Milan,
because that's the other
Inter
argument.
certainly do.
Inter, yes.
With or without Icardi. So if it's Inter, sure. He could go to AC Milan. Do they need another striker? Look, the future...
Because they've got Piontek on the books.
They do, of course.
Andre Silva has not confirmed that he will be staying at Seville, so they get him back come June 1.
That will be interesting.
Patrick Coultrona has been hinting that he will be gone or going. Do they really need another one?
I don't see any reason why Piontek and Benzema couldn't work together up top. Obviously, Andre Silva throws a bit of a spanner in the works there. I think that Karim Benzema, where he's at in his career, I just feel a move to Italy would suit where he is currently at. He's a very, very experienced, very talented centre forward who I just feel would find a home there in Italy. I couldn't see him playing in the Premier League. I don't think that would suit him at this stage of his career, and I don't really feel that a move to France or Germany would be on the cards, and he will certainly not go anywhere else in Spain. So I just feel a move to Italy, to one of the two Milan sides, could be an option there, whether it's Inter or AC Milan. But again, I think Champions League football will play a role in that, and certainly I fancy AC, despite being behind Inter in the table. I just feel that could be a suitable option.
I'm sure his wages will also have a very big say on where he goes. He does have quite high wage demands already at Real Madrid.
Could be a direct replacement for Icardi then.
Yes, could be. Won't rule it out, but very well could be.
Inter certainly not in the Scudetto race any longer, but Napoli still are. And just a quick one on Napoli. Callejon of Napoli has come out and said a word of warning to Juventus, saying that our dream of winning our Scudetto is still well and truly alive. Words are words, Rick. I think this
season might have to be ruled out with a very, very thick black texture. I don't think there's any chance this season. The gap is way too big.
Maybe season after.
Season after.
Last bit of news before we get to some transfers from the European front. Jose Mourinho has revealed that he's already said no to 3 or 4 different offers at club level. No official word on who those clubs are, but interesting still with Mourinho what the future holds. I really believe there's only one option, and that's Inter.
It seems now there is only one.
That can only be one. There are no other reported options at this point in time. So if he's going to remain at club level, it can only be Inter. It really can only be Inter. So the fact that he said he's turned down multiple offers, we know that Lyon were jokingly linked. We know that Benfica were linked. We know that there was some interest from other French clubs, reports were saying, but I'm not so sure what these offers are, where these offers have come from that he's actually turned down.
Yeah, it's a bit strange to work out multiple offers.
3 or 4, he said. So, look,
I don't even know there were 3 or 4 teams that would be interested in Jose Mourinho, considering what he has done over the last 10 years, and in particular what he has done over, say, the last 5 or 6.
Yeah, we've discussed it at length previously, and I don't see there being 3 or 4 potential fits. Certainly not at the level that he requires, but then again, maybe a few lower clubs. Look, Benfica, a very proud club, one of the very best in world football, but clearly not at the level of Real, Inter, Chelsea, and where he's been prior to that. No. So it could be an interesting future for Mourinho, but I think if he wants to remain at that level, the only option, Inter Milan, but depends on what they do with Luciano Spalletti, who is obviously still contracted to be manager of the club into next season. One factor that could play a role in that, of course, is the transfer front and what happens, and we've just touched on, again, just speculation, but potentially Benzema, if Icardi were to go to Real Madrid, Benzema could go the other way. We could see Mourinho and Benzema reunited.
That could be very, very interesting. Plenty of fireworks could be occurring.
Absolutely. But of course, Benzema's future, not the only player who is linked away from Real Madrid. Gareth Bale's certainly one. Now, I'm very confident Bale will be gone next season, irrespective of what obviously Zidane has said and what the club have hinted. Bale still has value about him. Bale still has a lot to offer another club, and the latest reports are suggesting that Gareth Bale could be key to bringing Paul Pogba to the Bernabeu.
Wow.
Now this is interesting because, of course, Paul Pogba, while on international duty with France the other day, came out and said that to play for Zidane at Real Madrid would be a dream. There has to be something to that. You don't just make those comments. Bale to go the other way for Pogba to come in and maybe bail in some cash for Pogba. I think that'd be a nice move for both clubs. I think that Man United cannot afford to let Pogba leave, but if a player wants out, which I still believe there is some of that there, the reports and rumours were so strong earlier on in the campaign, but I really feel that could be a nice move for both clubs.
It could be. It might involve some cash as well, you would think. I don't think this is going to be a direct swap for swap. I think
direct swap for
I think
swap,
one might be worth a little bit more than the other on the open market just at this present stage. And we know that Real Madrid do want to sort of change that midfield around that little bit. You know, there's been reports about Toni Kroos also departing. We know about Luka Modric getting on in age. So I guess Pogba could be a very nice fit. He does fit the Galacticos mould.
Yep.
Bale going out, I still keep on going back to those Champions League final comments under Zidane. That still does linger in the back of the mind. He was gone. He still is gone in my eyes. He's only got another 10 games to prove himself. It could happen.
Yep.
I won't rule it out. I won't say it's a definite yes, but I think I'm more leaning at this stage towards it being a no, maybe towards the end of the year, maybe swinging towards a yes.
I think Bale for me is certainly one of the favourites to leave. That report also went on to say that if Eden Hazard doesn't make the move to Chelsea, then there's another alternative. This is one of the stranger alternatives. Yesterday it was Mohamed Salah. The day before it was Sadio Mane. Today's is Felipe Anderson of West Ham. Incredible, not the player that you would have thought, but one of many players linked to Real Madrid. So many players linked in, many players linked out. And Matt said, and I've read this report as well, Napoli were looking at 3 players from Real. Obviously, Napoli and Real do have a nice relationship on the transfer front. Casemiro, Marcelo and Isco have all seen their names linked to Napoli as well. 2 of those players in Marcelo and Isco have also been linked to Juventus as well. So there could be a changing of the guard there. Luka Modric, of course, still linked to Inter. There could be changes of plenty at the Bernabeu.
I just can't see, in all honesty, Casemiro leaving Real Madrid.
No,
he's
neither.
too important to this team. So I know he's going to be linked to a lot of teams, but I think Casemiro moving on from Los Blancos, he's too pivotal to how Zinedine Zidane played over the last 4 seasons in particular. So maybe not Casemiro, but certainly Marcelo has been mentioned from pillar to post.
He'll leave.
He will be gone somewhere. Isco as well, but with Isco, and this also brings it back to the Felipe Anderson link, you've got James Rodriguez that comes back in.
That's right.
We know that, and we've said it for time and time again, he will not be staying at Bayern Munich. His family want to go back to a Spanish-speaking language.
Yep.
It's their natural language. It's not that they haven't felt well and accustomed in Munich and they haven't felt welcomed, but they want to go back to where they naturally fit in a little bit better. They assimilate a little bit better. Italy, I can't see James going, but certainly going back to Spain,
It makes sense.
It makes sense.
It makes complete sense. And it would then also facilitate the move away for Isco.
That's right.
And again, Zidane has expressed his love for all of those attacking players, Asensio, Isco, Bale, Benzema, in some way, shape or form. But there is no way that... for me, 2 or 3 will certainly leave.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it.
But there is one other name that he has mentioned. Irving Lozano. Chuke!
Yes.
Now, I do have a little bit of a crush on Irving Lozano.
He's been linked to Napoli. 40 million euro the fee set to be.
Go and splash the cash as fast as you can. Sign him up. Officialise the deal upon the very first day of the transfer window open. Very big
Napoli have been still solid in attack, but again, they're thin and too reliant on the key men. Obviously, they've got the 4 in Insigne, Mertens, Callejon and Milik. But I haven't felt the consistent quality of particularly Callejon and Mertens has been at the same level this season as we've seen in previous seasons. Lozano to come in would be a great get.
And he's still so young, 21 years old.
Feels like he's been on the scene for a very long time. He'd be a very good signing for Napoli for next season.
Well, he'd be a great signing for anybody who needs sort of a winger/forward who can cut in, have a shot on a right and find the back of the net, or just get to the back post and punch a goal through past the goalkeeper.
I do agree with with that, absolutely. So that's the rumours there. 40 million the fees for Napoli in their pursuit for the Mexican international. Now, elsewhere, one of the biggest names who will be linked away strongly in the summer and will make a move away in the summer is Ajax captain Matthias de Ligt. Reports last night coming out of Italy saying that he has told his agent Mino Raiola that his club of choice is Barcelona. Now, not the first time we've heard this.
Nope.
But, again, reports strengthening that he will want, or his ultimate goal is to join friend, colleague and Ajax teammate Frankie de Jong at Barcelona at the Nou Camp.
And Jasper Cillessen as well.
Yes, but of course, current Ajax teammate want to make the move along with him.
Or former Ajax teammate as well in Cillessen. There's a few little links here.
That's not too complex. Regardless, he wants Barcelona. Of course, Barca and Juve in pole position to pursue this player, but they're saying that Barca now have just edged out in front of Juventus with the player actually verbalising that this is where I want to be.
Yeah, no, I think this one's been written on the cards for quite some time now. It's just a matter of now when, not if, to be perfectly honest.
I still think Juventus will win the race. I really do. Again, Barcelona do need to reinforce in various areas of the park. Can they really, after spending 80 on De Jong, can they really spend another, 70, 80 on,
yeah.
160 on two players? Yes, they may sell Coutinho, but they do need to bring in some reinforcements. I'd say one midfielder, one attacker as well, with or without Coutinho. So
it's like we keep on arguing. Who falls out at the other end?
Who falls out at the other end? Not sure. Not sure, but there will be many movements you feel at Barca and Real.
Yeah, you'd think, okay, out of that midfield, well, Vidal you've just signed, probably not. Busquets been there 10 plus years, probably not. Ivan Rakitic, well, he's been linked, but probably not because he loves Spain too much. Artur, you only signed him a year ago.
No way.
Probably not.
No way.
You know, there's already your midfield. In attack, Ousmane Dembele, you're not going to get your money back. Coutinho, well, he's the only one who's been linked, but he'll probably be the one who ends up having to
give away. They'll take a loss on Coutinho.
They'll have to. But it'll be a big, big loss. It'll be a good 30 to 40% loss compared to what they paid.
But they have to, because if they want to bring in someone new, we brought you the news yesterday that Jovic is linked there for 60 million. I think you'd happily sell Coutinho at a loss to bring in a formed player in Jovic who you feel could, for example.
So that one there as well. And then even in defence, if you are going to bring in De Ligt, well, Samuel Umtiti's coming back from a knee injury, so you're probably not going to sell him at the moment, considering he is going to be seemingly the future of this team. Clement Lenglet has only just come in over the summer. Gerard Piqué? I know he's been there 8-9 years.
Defensively, they have to ask some questions.
You've just got to wonder, what do you do there?
That's where the De Ligt acquisition makes sense.
Jordi Alba just got re-signed on a huge release clause, and there was no chance he was ever going to go. And Nelson Semedo is the right back, but Nelson Semedo has a little bit of work. He's probably got a year's worth of development still in him, and he is a very, very good player. I just don't know whether he will ultimately turn into a Barcelona world-class player. And you always bring it back to, can he be at an equal level as Dani Alves? And that's going to be hard because you don't want to start to compare the two people and the two players.
Of course.
But ultimately, when you have so much success with that Brazilian international in your team, you kind of have to start to compare him over and over.
Some news on Dani Alves to come shortly. But while we are in Spain, obviously there are some uncertainties at the third biggest club in Spain, Atletico Madrid, surrounding their superstar Antoine Griezmann, who of course turned 28 yesterday, said to be weighing up his options once again. Of course, he made the big decision at the end of last season to commit himself to Atleti. It just hasn't worked out this season. His form's been brilliant, but again, for the club, out of everything, they are still in the La Liga title race, but realistically
hardly not even.
Won't win that. So could be another season without any success for Antoine Griezmann and Atletico Madrid. Reports out of Madrid, though, are suggesting that should he leave at season's end, and I believe he will, and I do believe Barcelona could be an option, Paulo Dybala, again, the Juventus man linked to another club, that's the fourth or fifth club this week, he could be the replacement. And look, he does have the feel of an Atleti player, Dybala. I could actually see him playing there for that club, but reports closer to home for he in Italy are suggesting that there is no way he wants out.
But you've just touched on it, and that's with Griezmann to Barcelona. We just touched on it a moment ago. Where are they going to afford all this money to? So that's why it just lends itself as to how much money does Barcelona need to shuffle out.
That, Griezmann.
But bringing it back to Dybala,
Yeah.
and that's what I think the argument is now. It's what, you're right, 4 or 5 teams already wanting Dybala's signature.
Liverpool were another that were linked overnight as well. So I think clubs are starting to sense that Dybala may be there for the taking, with Juventus looking to plot some bigger moves, as we brought you earlier on in the week. We shared a clip around earlier in the week of our discussion about Dybala and his worth and value on the market in comparison to the remainder of his teammates. Some out there were questioning, well, surely if Juventus needed to cash in on someone, surely they could fetch more money for Ronaldo. Well, in actual fact, no, and I had a couple of conversations online with a few people about this. Dybala at the moment, according to transfermarket.com, which values all the players, all the clubs, he and Ronaldo are both valued at £90 million. Now, given the fact that Dybala is
25, 26.
8-9 years younger than Ronaldo, and given the clear demand for Dybala would be a lot greater than Ronaldo at this stage, you'd think. I'm not saying that any club out there would turn down Cristiano Ronaldo, but I don't think a club would be willing to spend 100 million, whatever the case is, on Ronaldo tomorrow. But again, that won't be an issue anyway, so don't worry about that hypothetical.
The one benefit that Ronaldo does have, just in this argument, just briefly, is the market.
The marketing side, of course.
The whole social media side, the advertising and brand that is Cristiano Ronaldo.
But for a club like Atletico looking to build for the future, they're not purchasing Cristiano Ronaldo.
No.
Juventus are not looking to build for the future. They're looking to win right now.
Correct.
So Paulo Dybala, given where he would move to, would be for a club that are looking to build. That is a Real Madrid. That is a Barcelona looking to re-energise their attack for the next 5 years. These clubs, Atletico Madrid, are wanting to build something going forward. Ronaldo and Juve are ready to win tomorrow. There is a difference. So Dybala, given the fact that there'd be strong interest, as we've seen reportedly this week, he would fetch a significant price, and for me, he'd certainly go over that valuation of £90 million.
What do you reckon he'd fetch?
Well, again, given the interest, I think...
Considering all things...
For me, 110 to 120. Certainly.
That'd be a bargain, you'd almost say, wouldn't you?
110 to 120 plus. I think he's worth, probably based on the market and what we've seen, 140 to 150. But look, I think that the prices may not be as inflated as they were. I don't think Philippe Coutinho would ever go for anywhere near 140 ever again.
Nope.
So I do feel that 140 valuation on today's market is probably at about 80, 90. Therefore, I feel Dybala would go for probably 110, 120, which probably when that Coutinho move was done was a 140, 150 move. But I think...
He was in the form of his life at that stage, Coutinho.
He was.
He really was.
He was. But, and again, Dybala's form has been a little indifferent. So I think that Dybala would go for about 110, 120, but I certainly think that it would be a lot more than the £90 million that's being quoted as his current valuation. But that is a big, big development there with Paulo Dybala. Again, reports saying they'll assess his future at season's end. A couple more to go before we wrap up this first hour on Facebook Live. Plenty more coming up on afternoons on FNR in the second hour. Dani Alves, Rick. He's set to sign an extension. You mentioned him a little earlier. He's set to sign a 2-year extension at Paris Saint-Germain to keep him there till 2021. He'll be 38 by then. Neymar, his good friend and club and country teammate, said to be absolute key, demanding that they re-sign his Brazilian teammate, saying that he would feel better if his compatriot would prolong his adventure with PSG with him by his side. So Neymar, we've heard this before, Neymar wanting to keep his friends close by, and obviously
especially his Brazilian counterpart.
Strong Brazilian contingent in that squad. But Dani Alves set to be handed a 2-year extension. To me, that means Neymar is staying put.
Of course. Never going anywhere whatsoever, as I have said time and time again. No chance.
All right, a few other ones just to wrap up the program. Javier Mascherano, who's currently in China, set to rescind his contract there, could return to Argentina. So, interesting. Well, there have been a couple of players who have had a successful career there, but some that have just called it quits early on.
Well, there's been a few. I mean, we touched on Alexander Pato during the week. There's usually one or two of these sort of big-name European players that go over to China, make a little bit of money, and then just want to sort of cancel that contract and move back either to Europe or, in his case, go back to South America. It's interesting. It's a paradigm that we'll have to discuss at a later date, but it's something I think we need to analyse as to why it happens far more frequently than it normally would.
Mascherano, 28 appearances with Hebei China Fortune, so linked back to Argentina. Of course, started his days with River Plate as a youth player there, and did play for the senior team for a couple of years before moving to Corinthians, and then that moved to West Ham before Liverpool, and of course Barcelona. So maybe a return to River Plate could be on the cards. Barella, of course, one of the talented midfielders in Italy, young midfielder coming through the ranks at Cagliari. He's linked to Chelsea, and Inter said that he'll put off talks about his future until season's end. And just to wrap up, while on the topic of Chelsea, they are unlikely to keep Gonzalo Higuain for next season, according to Sport Mediaset, which means a return to Juventus will be on the cards, but then they will certainly either sell or loan him out again because they've made it very clear they have no willingness to keep the Argentine in their ranks.
Yeah. He's going to be a fascinating case to follow over the next few months.
Sad state of affairs there. Look, despite the brilliance at Juventus, I think he should have just stayed at Napoli. He could have led that Napoli side to a Scudetto, of course, in the season where Juventus won the Scudetto with Napoli having that record-breaking points finish for a second-place team. If Higuain was on the other side, Napoli would have won the championship.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
All right, on that note, we are done. Stay tuned for the second hour coming up on our app and our website, footballnationradio.com. Of course, you are listening to us right here on afternoons on FNR Football Nation Radio.
You're listening to Afternoons on FNR, Football Nation Radio with Adriano de Monte and Rick D'Andrea.